skipped one. Okay, just to give a tone for what's been happening in the world over the last year or two. That's a graph that shows the price of oil. So it's been horrendous. What a roller coaster ride. What's interesting though is aluminum, which is the next one, which is virtually indistinguishable. And this one is as volatile as oil and is crucially important to us because it's one of our major export earners. So what is created is an environment which we have never seen before. Let's look at the next one, which is in fact the Jamaica Stock Exchange Index and GraceKennedy's stock price. And what that shows is that the movement in both has been virtually identical over the last several months. So what have we done in an environment like this? When Lehman went belly up that Sunday evening, which was September 14th, we said the world has changed. And on September 29th, the Wall Street Journal actually ran up an article that said few good scenarios still exist. So they actually went through a series of scenarios. And we actually took that as a basis for our scenarios and worked through those and many other scenarios that we expected could happen in the world and in Jamaica. And what we did was to prepare ourselves for all of them. And what's the reason for that? If you had asked me a year ago or a year and a half ago, what would the world look like in Jamaica, I would say, well, based on historical information, I could predict a particular series of outcomes and a steady state approach to the future. If you ask me that today, what's going to happen next year, I'd have to say to you, I have absolutely no idea. And anybody who said they did know would be clairvoyant or a genius, because how would they know? Because the information we have is so volatile and changes hourly that it's not possible to know. So what we did was to develop a very proactive strategy to prepare for any eventuality. So those are four, and I'm going to carry you through those four to see what we actually did. So what we did, in fact, was to explore the implications of the events, develop preemptive and responsive actions, assign probabilities to each outcome. So we didn't say it's certain to happen. It could vary from a 1% probability to 99%, and to prepare for any one of those scenarios to unfold. Let's look at the first one. Credit crunch. Well, you know what events would take place in a credit crunch. The actions we took, garner cash across the group, forming new overseas banking alliances, limiting capex to essentials. The probability of that happening, well, it's already happening. The second one, Japan-style deflation. That means that prices decline over time. Most people in Jamaica can't conceive of that or what the implications are. But the reason why the world is concerned about it, if prices start declining, what happens is that people stop borrowing money and stop delaying their purchases. They said, I won't buy anything this month because it will be cheaper next month. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for economic decline. And they'll say, well, I won't borrow money because my inventories will be worth less in 3 months than they are now. So what would we do in a situation like that? We said what we would do is to garner cash across the group, and we would delay purchasing in order to get lower prices. But we assigned a low probability to this scenario. The third one, surprising resilience. That means a quick bounce back out of the recession, primarily because quick action could be taken, especially in the U.S., and also U.S. productivity is actually rising despite the fact that they are in a recession. So we said we would garner cash across the group and focus on our own internal productivity to make sure it's rising as fast as our major trading partners. And we said that the probability of this scenario was somewhat likely. Then the fourth one, rapid depreciation of the Jamaican dollar. We said garner cash across the group, use proactive methods for costing our goods, pay off the U.S. payables, and loans and make sure that we are positively hedged in foreign currencies. And we saw the probability of that as high. And so let's see what actually was the outcome of that. We were prepared for any eventuality, and many of these could overlap, but we were prepared. So let's see what actually happened. We were like the squirrel, you know, Lehman collapsed, life was good, you know, you sort of going up and up and up, and then something happened on September 14th, and we said, wow, we're going to have to do something like jump squirrel. So that was what we were doing last year. And we said, wow, something else has changed. Exchange rate volatility, bauxite prices falling, closures around us, CNN saying that the world is going to melt down within the next 2 weeks. So we said, we are going to have to do something about this. We're going to have to be nimble. So we did all the things the squirrel is doing, including using an assist to get across open spaces. But we said, eventually we're going to get to the reward. And that's just, I think, what we have done with the assistance of the people in this room. It's okay, give them a hand. I'm going to clap my colleagues because it's you folks who did it for us. Thank you. So what were the preemptive actions we took? I'm now going to ask Faye McIntosh, our group CFO, to share with us a little of the selected items. Faye.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm up here for just a few seconds because the chairman has, in fact, told you most of what I'm saying here. The actual, what did we really do? There were a number of actions that were taken because this was not just an academic exercise. We found that eventually, some of these actions, these initiatives did, in fact, play out. The first one was the credit crunch. We all know what happened. And in fact, it's still happening right now. We shortage of credit throughout. We don't have, it's very difficult to get long-term credit. So what did we do? Well, the first thing that we did, we said, look, we have to look at what are the new options that we can, in fact, utilize. So the first one, we issued commercial paper. We had an issue of commercial paper, which, despite the challenging times, I am pleased to say was oversubscribed. And another thing that we did is we looked at our credit lines immediately. We said, we have to negotiate either increased credit lines, new credit lines. So we immediately went out and did that. And throughout Central Treasury, we have an advantage of being a large group. We have a number of companies, and we took advantage of that by, through the Central Treasury, we ensured that we optimized the use of our surplus cash throughout the group. Another thing that we did, we immediately limited our CapEx. CapEx, all the non-critical CapEx were immediately looked at, and we only focused on what we call the strategic ones. And most of us in here know about the distribution center. We're very, very pleased that, we in fact have started our distribution center. We commenced construction of the 235,000 square foot distribution center last year. We continue we expect to have that complete at the end of the year. You'll hear more about that from Erwin. So that was what we actually did. Some of the actions were taken in terms of the credit crunch. The next thing we did, we looked at the rapid depreciation of the dollar. Now, this is with us all the time. I mean, this is not something that you only look at times like these. But what we looked at was what if the dollar devalued rapidly? And, what were the actions that we were going to take? So we took some actions that you heard about. Immediately you make sure you get your receivables in, you pay off your U.S. payables as quickly as possible. And we assessed our exposure. And upon assessment, we discovered, and it's something we do all the time, but we were really, happy to see that the GraceKennedy group is positively hedged against any depreciation, FX depreciation. Now, in respect of foreign exchange, I just want to close by saying that through our exports, our remittances, our dividends from overseas, GraceKennedy remains a consistent supplier of hard currency to the market. Thank you.